Welcome to Talk That Talk, or T3. I'm Bionic Brooks, your host. We dive into some of the most prevalent and popular topics from sports to lifestyle to culture and music. This episode is sponsored by Hypnotic and Heaven Hill brands, two icons in the world of spirit. We're good? All right, so welcome back to T3. I'm your host, Bionic. I'm here with my special co-host, Ty McKinney, a.k.a. That Fly Guy Ty, or Coach Ty. Ty, how you feeling, man? Happy to have you here.
Man, happy to be here, man. Blessed and highly favored. I'm feeling good, man.
And as you know, the topic of today is then and now. We're going to cover a lot of things from basketball to maybe culture, a little bit of drinks. You know, Hypnotic sponsored the podcast, so, I got to give them a special shout out. Right. We're going to try a couple of drinks, see what you think. But yeah, man, I know you know a lot about basketball. That's why I brought you on today. You know a lot. You guys just came off your first CIIF championship victory with the Castaic Coyotes, aka the Lake Boys.
Hey.
You know what I'm saying? Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Hey, man. Yeah, shout out to them Lake Boys, man, for sure, man. One of one. It's been our theme for the year. This group of guys has been truly special. We've been at it since August of last year, man, getting it in throughout the summer, camps, trainings, individual trainings, all types of stuff, man, and just kind of sticking the course with these boys and, no recruiting, no bringing guys in, just the homegrown guys that were there at this school that has only been there for 5 years.
Wow.
School's only 5 years old, so
5 years old.
Yeah, been on the grind with them boys, man, and it came full circle after not winning one single league game, man, not even one. We were able to tough it out and go ahead and clinch the CIIF Southern Section Division 5 championship. So yeah, that all came about. A friend of mine, Don Butler, we met at UCLA, was looking for a coaching job in the area, said, hey man, I want you on staff with me wherever I end up. Come with me, support me. I said, hey man, yeah, appreciate the opportunity, and kind of jumped at it as soon as it presented itself. And then Castaic ended up being the one he landed at, and couldn't have asked for a better home as far as basketball is concerned.
Wow, so you guys have, done a lot, transformed the program, and that segues into the topic of today, basketball then and now.
Yes, sir.
And a lot of things have transformed over the course of the years with basketball, and just like you guys have transformed that program over at Castaic,
yes, sir.
The game of basketball has transformed so much. And can you speak to some of the transformations that you've seen? Because in the early years in the NBA, the offensive game was characterized by a more methodical approach. And then with teams, they were heavily relying on mid-range jumpers, post-up game. And then you fast forward to today, and we see a revolution of offensive strategies, with the emphasis on the three-point shooting, spacing, and pace. And the game has become more dynamic, with players stretching the floor and exploiting mismatches like never before. Okay. Have you seen that in the high school space? And what has that been like for you?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think I've seen it in basketball all around. When you think about basketball back in the days, or just kind of the good old days of basketball, it was hard-nosed, man. It was that dog mentality. You know what I mean? You kind of forced your way. I'm gonna do it with force. Whether it was forcing my way in the paint or forcing myself to a jump shot, or you kind of had this mentality of force back in the day. And now, yeah, it's a bit more calculated to the approach. You got James Harden literally taking, what we do underneath the basket as far as Euro stepping and things like that, and taking it to the three-point line, giving himself extra room and extra steps and things like that to take advantage of his defenders. And I think we see it, time and time again with the great Stephen Curry.
Well, how do we see it in the high school space? What are you seeing in the high school space? You're training high school players right now. Mm-hmm. We'll dive a little bit more into NBA players and stuff like that as we go forward. But what do you see in the high school space and training these high school kids?
Yeah. I guess it becomes way more prevalent in the high school space because everybody wants to, kind of be involved in the most extreme of trainings, and they want to be involved in kind of some of the most advanced movements and techniques when it comes to the game itself. And they get away from those fundamentals. They get away from, kind of just going back to those basics and working themselves to that advanced movement. With it being so much information, with it being so, accessible and visual all over the internet, these kids automatically, I need the best equipment, I need the best trainers, and you kind of put them in a basic exercise and they struggle with it. So yeah, in the high school space, it's very prevalent that that the advancement of the game and all the components that go with it that we're watching these NBA players exploit and kind of dive into scientifically. These high schoolers don't understand the full scope of everything going on. So I think they just want to kind of jump into it. They don't really understand how Stephen Curry became that great of a shooter. They just know he is and he can shoot from range. So that's what I'm going to try.
Yeah, I mean, in the early 1960s and 70s, the average NBA team attempted less than 5 3-pointers per game. Today, we see teams averaging up to 30 attempts per game. Jeez. Like, that's a huge change in how the game is being played. And then the league-wide three-point percentage, back in the day, early 80s, probably closer to 30%. Now, it's around 35%. So, it's progressed over year. It's increased in recent seasons. And then, like you mentioned, players like Stephen Curry and James Harden have revolutionized the game and with their ability to shoot from long range, their ability to manipulate, their footwork and kind of how they manipulate the ball with the float, the swing steps, stuff like that. And they do it from perimeter.
Oh, yeah.
But I have a couple more questions for you. Like, how do you think the emphasis on three-point shooting has changed the way teams approach the NBA game and the three-point line today?
I think it's changed everything. I mean, you got to start extending your defenses out, which is causing, your big man who isn't really fleet of foot to have to now guard on the perimeter. And you know what I mean? So it causes teams to now have to scheme with 5 guys, far away from the basket. So now, like you said, players are able to exploit now, becoming more dynamic with more open lanes, with, being able to pull up from the mid-range because there's a lot more open spaces now on the floor with it being extended out to that three-point line. And you see some of the bigs knocking it down as well.
Can you identify any specific players? I know we mentioned, the greats like James Harden, Stephen Curry, but can you pinpoint any other players that have epitomized kind of the shift towards more dynamic offensive play in today's NBA?
Oh, absolutely, man. You got guys like Dame extending the range way out, becoming a normal thing to shoot from the logo.
Yeah.
Trae Young following in that same kind of footsteps. You got super explosive guys like Ja Morant who are able to take advantage of the open paint.
100%.
Anthony Edwards, again, Zion Williamson, they're all able to take advantage of those launching pads and those open, paint
open
areas.
Space.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so they're taking advantage of the open space because of what the three-pointer has done in today's NBA.
Oh, yeah.
Also, guys like Luka Doncic.
Oh, yeah.
That's another big name. Some of these European players are now able to really thrive in today's game.
Yeah.
And early on, we seen back in the day, European players had a tough time. European players used to have a tough go at being able to get into the league, stay in the league, and actually, be dominant.
Oh, yeah. And they were all agile, too. Most of those European players you speak of, they, Peja, they could move. They could get to those mid-range spots. They could get to the rim. You see guys like Luka and Joker just using their footwork and using their, what they know about missteps and hip angles and shoulder placements to really take advantage of guys.
And what role do you think coaching strategies have played in the evolution of offensive gameplay?
I believe it's become a lot more prevalent. I believe coaching now, it starts to become something that you're able to visually see over the course of games now. You have to be able to plan and strategize against the other coach and the schemes that they're running. You start seeing, a guy, I think Cat, Karl Anthony Towns, it was a game, I forgot who they were playing, but he was lighting it up from the stripe. And, coach is constantly looking at the scoreboard and he's looking at his schemes and he's seeing, hey, these 3-point shots aren't really hurting us. You know what I mean? Let them keep taking it. Let them keep taking it. If that's how they want to try and beat us.
And we noticed later in that game, as the game progresses, everybody else on the team is out of rhythm. Cat was the only one really going, and then down the stretch, they ultimately lose the game because nobody else could find the flow.
Exactly, and that's coach's responsibility to see that and see, hey, we're not making any headway here with these shots. We need to start mixing it up and switching it up, also preparing ourselves for the end game.
And I think it's important, too, because if you notice, like some of the pioneers or some of the early coaches that really adapted kind of like a high-octane offensive flow, like the Mike D'Antonis and the Don Nelsons of the game, you know, they really influence how the game is played now, because in the early 2000s with that Phoenix Sun team with the 7 seconds or less, you know, you're trying to score as fast as possible. Steve Nash, Amari Stoudemire, Sean Marion, Joe Johnson, Quentin Richardson, they were really putting up numbers. Boris Diaw,
legendary Suns
you know, Leandro Barbosa. I got to give all those guys their credit when it's due, because they really influenced the shift in the culture early. I remember you and I used to sit at, you know, in middle school, junior high. We used to sit at the table, breakfast table, and watch Sports Center, you know what I'm saying, at the TV above, you know, before, you know, going to class. And we used to watch that Phoenix Sun team and seeing how they used to score at a high rate. And it was exciting to watch at that time, and then see how people looked at that team then to see how they look at the game now. Oh, it's a world of a difference, right?
Oh, yeah. Huge differences, man.
And so we're going to take that to the fans, too. Like, I'll bring this to you as well, though. But, like, which era of NBA basketball do you personally find more exciting to watch? The methodical, post-heavy style in the past, or the fast-paced, three-point heavy style of today?
I think I enjoy elements of both. At first, I would have said, you know, strictly the past. I strictly enjoy that basketball a lot more. As I spoke of that dog, that fight mentality, it just was a little bit, you know, more hard-nosed and a little bit more exciting to watch. You never knew what was going to happen. The fans were just as explosive as the players. And then, you know, nowadays it's very interesting to watch the schemes play out. It's very interesting to watch, you know, how some of these teams are able to take advantage of other teams, you know, their disadvantages, whether it's a big disadvantage, you know, whether they're not fleet or foot, so we're going to pull them out to the three-point line. Whether it's a mismatch that we can exploit all game, we can get this guy to cover a guy that anybody can go at. So it's very interesting to watch the schemes play out in today's game.
Yeah, it is really interesting to see, like, in real time how people are playing defense because of how people are playing offense.
Oh, yeah.
You know, you look at guys like Anthony Davis, he's a phenomenal rim protector, but teams are bringing him outside of the paint to guard more of those players. He's great at that, but it puts the Lakers at a disadvantage when he's not protecting the rim because nobody else is there. That's just one example. But do you think the emphasis on three-point shooting has had a positive or negative effect on basketball?
I mean, a lot more points are going up on the scoreboard, which, I mean, I guess from a fan's perspective, we always want to see the score get ran up. So, I mean, I'd say it as a – man, I'm torn between that, because the reason I'm torn and the reason I hesitate is because of the Steph and Curry era, right? You have all these little kids who now want to launch shots from half court, you know, with no context, with no, you know, understanding of, hey, I got to develop and get stronger in these areas to become a proficient shooter from outside at that range. So it's kind of a bittersweet. It's a good and a bad.
Yeah, and I mean, I agree with you wholeheartedly, because I don't think necessarily it has a negative. I don't think it has a negative effect on the game, but I definitely do feel like we need to find a bridge between the two, because, yes, putting up a lot of points is amazing, but I think that's just for the casual fan. Yeah. The casual fan wants to see a lot of buckets because they don't really understand the game. But when you've played the game at a high level, when you've coached at a high level like yourself, you really want to see guys sit down on defense. You want to see defense be played. You want to see a competitive game, you know, not necessarily letting anybody do anything. But how do you think the evolution of these offensive strategies has influenced basketball at the grassroots level, such as youth leagues and college basketball as well? Please include women's basketball, because we've seen Caitlin Clark and her influence on the game, you know, for both men and women, you know. So what do you think, you know, that influence has been like?
I feel like I feel like it's brought a lot of attention, obviously, to the women's space of basketball. It's becoming a lot more exciting to watch. A lot of more people are starting to pay attention. Obviously, basketball is basketball to us, regardless of who was playing it. But I think nowadays the shift is really putting and really giving them an opportunity to shine in a lot of different spaces in a lot of different areas. We speak about offense, but I feel like defense has really suffered because of this. I feel like the passion and the the grit and the want to really buckle down and strap up and play defense is starting to really suffer because I'm starting to see a lot of kids who they don't take as much pride in the defensive end as everything else.
Yeah, and I think, personally, I think that the game has a lot more advantages for the offensive players, and that's kind of why we see things like that, and we see a lot of clips online and the internet, the YouTube, the Instagram. I got a lot of homies that operate in that space, myself as well included. And you don't want to be on the other end of a clip nowadays. And now it's all up to it's all up for the offense. The offense is controlling the game of basketball. It's not even defensive highlights anymore.
Let me ask you something, but being a defensive powerhouse yourself, speaking of winding up on the other end of clips, how does it make you feel seeing the game and seeing these kids defensively?
I'd love to dive into that a little bit later. We talked a little bit about defense. I'll give my insight on that, but we're going to talk about the evolution of defense now. In the past, teams primarily focused on man-to-man defense, with limited help defense and fewer defensive rotations, and how the game has evolved now. So as defense, teams now employ, complex defensive schemes, including zone defenses. Now you see a lot more of that. You see switches all the time. Mm-hmm. That's huge. And then that's a counter to offensive threats.
Absolutely.
So what do you think about kind of some of the adjustments that you've had to make in your coaching ability to be able to keep up with offense in today's day and age?
Oh, yeah, there's a lot of strategies that go in with that, especially off the screen and roll. Especially with how kids are shooting the ball nowadays. They're quick with it. They're creating a lot of space. They're doing a lot of different things off of screens and off of a lot of different movements. So I feel like, planning defenses and planning schemes, when to switch, when not to switch, when to jump the screen, when not to jump the screen, these all play a hand in who we're playing and who's their shooter, and are they fast? Are they good at creating space? Are they able to get downhill as well? I think there's a lot of things that go into game planning defensively against shooting threats.
And I think that that's interesting too, because, high school basketball is a little bit different than a professional game. The shot clock was introduced in 1954, and it forced teams to play faster. Do you think that that's something that they maybe should adopt into the high school game, a shot clock, to force teams to play a little bit quicker?
I feel like they all should have it. I know from state to state this varies whether or not you have a shot clock or you're playing with one. But I personally think that it's a good thing. I think that giving teams an allotted time, to scheme or to figure something out, I think it makes the game a lot more fun on both ends of the floor. Defensively, hey, we got to get a stop, 35 seconds. Offensively, hey, we got to figure out a way to score 35 seconds.
Yeah, and then the elimination of hand checking in the early 2000s made it more difficult for defenders to impede offensive players' progress, leading to a shift towards more perimeter-oriented defense. And then advanced analytics as well have played a significant role in modern defensive strategies, with team focusing on statistics like defense and defensive rating, opponent field goal percentage to inform their game plan. So how do you think the introduction of zone defenses has changed the way we approach defense in modern basketball and NBA and stuff included?
It plays a big part, man. Because number one, you could be shot out of a zone. You know what I mean? A guy could literally take as many deep shots as he wants, Damian Lillard, and you're going to have to do something else.
Yeah, a box and one. But you're going to do a box and one zone.
Exactly. That's where the schemes like box and one come in. It's like, okay, I have to run this guy off the line. I can't just let him stand out there and shoot the ball. However, I still need these other pieces to be in play. We spoke about Anthony Davis, pulling him out to the three-point line. a way to get him in the position you want him in is to run a box and one. Exactly. Yep. We'll keep him there. We'll run any switches or anything that happens down here on the bottom. We'll leave him here on the bottom. So now you still have to deal with him in the paint.
Yeah, that's a great point. And can you pinpoint any specific like rule changes on the defensive end that have influenced basketball in today's day and age?
I think the hand checking one was the biggest one for me.
That right?
One was huge.
Yeah.
You know, you see it so much in the high school game with the lack of, defensive pride. A lot of these kids, they can't really move laterally. And so what they try to do is they'll extend their arms out, you know what I mean? Trying to slow guys down, trying to impede them, trying to change their direction, trying to do any of that. I think that's been one of the biggest rules. And then in high school basketball, the foul change from the 1-and-1 to the 5 fouls and it's double bonus. So that's been a big change. I don't think it affected the game too much. It did slow it down a lot, but I think it's going to start to change the strategies, a little bit further on down the line. Yeah,
one rule I think about, I'm not sure when they changed the rule or implemented it, but the defensive 3 seconds, that's it. That's a huge rule, that they added that to everything and really, clogged up the lane, or opened up the lane a little bit more and created more space. And I think that if they took that away, allow guys for like Anthony Davis or Victor Wembanyama to just sit there, or Rudy Gobert to just sit there in the paint.
That wouldn't be so fun.
That wouldn't be so fun. It would change how they would have to play the game as well.
Do you think that was a rule change implemented for the betterment of the game or for entertainment value?
Yeah, I definitely think that was for entertainment value. They wanted to see, their best players get to the rim and, show off and get some highlights and be able to score a little bit more efficiently. But now I think that they should even out the playing field a little bit more and give the defense a little bit more of an advantage to keep up with how much space or where players are shooting from nowadays with the Stephen Currys and Trae Young's, Damian Lillard's, the Caitlin Clarks, and all these things. So if you have someone like that who can dominate from so far, but if you also have somebody on the defense, man, who can dominate on the inside, you got to let him get his.
You got to let him eat too.
Yeah, you got to let him eat. And then in your opinion, what teams or coaches have been most successful implementing modern defensive schemes? Like, are there any coaches that you watch that, you're like, hey, I would like to implement some of their defensive models and their schemes and how they approach the game from the defensive end?
I love watching Kerr as a coach, man. I don't know why I don't.
That's interesting because not many people would say like, "Hey, Steve Kerr is my go-to defensive coach."
I'm just what they're able to accomplish. Obviously they have huge pieces in Draymond Green and things like that.
Let's talk about that though real quick. Draymond Green might be the coach actually on the defensive end. He might be the reason why some of those schemes are so successful.
Absolutely. Having a player coach like Draymond in your ear and be able to tell you, hey, while I'm on the floor, this is what I'm seeing. This is what we can take advantage
He's
of.
Huge defensive anchor.
Oh yeah, and so Steve Kerr being willing to hear that and implement that into a lot of his schemes. I think it's huge. It's huge. It comes up big for them. A lot of the times we don't talk about Stephen Curry's defensive greatness. He is a great defender.
I think Stephen Curry had probably one of the only blocks in the All-Star game this year. Like, I was there live. I was watching it. And Stephen Curry is actually up there playing defense.
Playing defense in the All-Star game.
He gets steals. I think that people don't necessarily give him that because he's not necessarily known for that, and his coach or his team isn't relying so much for him on the defensive end, and they want him to be great offensively. So I think that is an underrated aspect of his game as well. But for me, I think about some defensive coaches like Doc Rivers, what he's been able to do on both ends for the Milwaukee Bucks recently has been huge because some of their defensive schemes were, allowing Giannis and Brook Lopez to get away from the paint and the basket and stuff like that just because they were doing a lot of switching.
Yeah, they were being exploited defensively a lot.
Exactly. And it was only because of that. And I think Doc Rivers is getting that team back to their roots and keeping guys like that around the rim so that they can make a huge impact. But Doc Rivers has always been known to be a little bit more of a defensive-minded coach. You think about those Boston Celtics teams and stuff like that. Any other coaches come to mind for you?
Defensively, in the league right now that are making real good adjustments. None that I can think of that really stand out like a sore thumb. It was really the Warriors. I think it's a real underrated part of their game for sure.
Yeah, and I want to bring this question to the viewers. I also want to bring this question to one of our producers behind the camera right now, Kaven. Is there any defensive innovations that we think that can be successful in basketball from other sports?
Has it been done?
I'm not sure. Like, do you think that there can be anything successful from other sports?
Absolutely. I mean, you have, I think any game with formations, hockey, soccer, rugby, a page can be taken out of all their books in terms of scheming football, even, you know what I mean, between how you set certain bodies up or how you align certain things to enable you to get certain things, right? I can think of late game situations or end of quarter situations to where I literally, draw up a scheme, a football play to where I need to get the ball here, you know what I mean, in order for us to take a decent shot or in order for us to, get it to the paint and get a foul. I think that any game with formations can be beneficial in the game of basketball.
What about you, Kaven? What do you think? You got any ideas?
I think you could take a lot from basketball and apply it to other sports. I don't think you can apply a lot of things from other sports to basketball. Like one thing that LeBron James always say is, we call football players the best athletes, but they don't play both sides of the ball.
Yeah,
So like
that's a good point.
it's a lot of
Football players do not play both sides of the sport, but basketball.
You got Travis Hunter.
Travis Hunter.
Who is a unicorn.
Yes, he is. Travis
It's a lot
Hunter
of
is a
sports
unicorn.
like that where they don't play both sides of the ball. So I'll say like
Basketball is one of those only sports where you actually
Mandatory.
actively play both sides of the
Yeah,
ball.
mandatory. Being
Yeah.
a two-way player is important.
Yeah.
So like I can see hockey taking inspiration from basketball and vice versa. But like in football, you hear coaches a lot of times say like, when you want to get a jump ball, be like a big man.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like you hear things like that. But
Yeah. No, I feel that. That's important. I think that was a really good point that you pointed out there because basketball is one of those sports to where you're in real time playing both sides.
Both sides.
But we're going to shift our focus a little bit more to women's basketball because right now women's basketball is the most exciting form of basketball that you can watch.
It really is.
It's basketball in its purest form.
I'm not even
I
gonna
know a lot of people might not agree with that, but I'm glad we're on the same page with that because right now women's basketball has changed how we look at basketball. So I think that events like the women's All-Star Game, All-Star Weekend is going to, continue to get even better. Oh, yeah. I'm excited for that. I'm excited for what the WNBA Finals has done, for the league, for the game. The NCAA tournament, the women's oh my gosh, the women's NCAA tournament has been so exciting to watch in recent years, and women's college basketball has even surpassed men's college basketball in viewership recently. So I'm really, really excited to see, kind of the trajectory of women's sports and basketball specifically. And it's really inspiring to see what they're doing. And I know it's inspiring a lot of the young women at home to, continue to push the game forward. And women's basketball is actually inspiring a lot of young men as well.
No, it is. Absolutely.
Oh, man. I want to talk a little bit about some of the women talent that we have in, women's college basketball right now. We spoke a little bit earlier on that, but there's so many, figures and faces in women's basketball. Do you have any personal favorites? We have, the big favorites, big names like Angel Reese, Caitlin Clark, Haley Van Lith. Those are just some of the names, but there's so much talent in women's college basketball. Are there any, players that stick out to you?
So other than the headliners, right? There's been women that stick out to me. Don't really know their name, but watching the game again.
You can say they're players from what team or what school, what college.
I have been watching Angel Reese a lot. LSU has been definitely some powerhouses. But I think in general, just watching women's basketball has become so exciting because there's no difference. You know what I mean? There's no real difference anymore between, watching basketball. It's just basketball.
hoops.
It's hoops.
It's just
At its purest form, as you
just
put.
hoop.
Like, it's hoops, man. You're going to get the flashy dribbles here and there. You might catch a dunk here and there. Those aren't the only components of basketball, man. The schemes are still being played at a high level. You know, the defense is still being played at a high level. The move sets and the skills that are required to accomplish
Yes.
a lot of the things that they're doing is still being done at a high level.
And you actually see a lot of young women catching on before young men, for real. Like,
yeah,
it's,
that part.
It's amazing to see that too.
And that's how they say, you know, the growth, the way, you know, boys and girls grow. And,
Yeah.
you know, when I've talked about coaching on the girl side, they're always like, oh, it's a lot easier. It's a lot less of a headache. You know what I mean? They pick up on things a lot faster. You know, no knock to the guys, but, you know, hey, they pay attention.
Yeah, a couple of names that stick out to me I've been watching. One is Hannah Hidalgo from Notre Dame. Has played, you know, really well on both sides of the basketball. I got a chance to actually meet and greet with a lot of the young, you know, NCAA talent with Ball is Life All-American game. We were actually, you know, able to sit down with some of the young women and see them play. And seeing them playing in this year's NCAA season has been amazing. You know, I've been a huge fan of what I've been able to see from you know, women's sports, especially at the NCAA level. Hannah Hidalgo. Let me think of a couple of other names. I want to give a couple more shots. Juju Watkins. Juju is huge. Yeah, Juju. Yeah, come on. We can't forget about Juju.
You're right.
She's the next one.
Yeah,
she's the next one.
beast.
Utah, I think, was it Utah? Yeah, University of Utah.
The Utes.
Yeah.
I don't know her last name, but she is a bucket. She really do be getting her work. She'll give you from the inside, outside, footwork,
Man.
everything.
What's that girl from UConn?
Paige Buckers.
Paige.
Yeah. And then also Aziz. Is her name Aziz? I might be
Where
completely at UConn. I think she's at UConn too. But she's been around the Curry brand, around Stephen Curry a lot as well. Dude, like it's just so much talent, and I'm sorry if I'm forgetting, you know, some of the marquee names in women's college basketball right now. But I just want to give a big shout out to all the women in sports right now that are doing their thing. You know, also WNBA players. I got a couple of homies that play in the WNBA. I want to give a big shout out to them. Yeah, Lexi Brown, one of them. She's a bucket. She can really go. She's a hooper. Yeah, man, the list goes on.
Right.
Any WNBA players that you like watching specifically? I like Asia Wilson too.
I actually haven't really watched a lot of WNBA recently. The college basketball space has been huge.
Aaliyah Boston. Yeah, Aaliyah Boston.
These names definitely ring bells. I definitely, you know, see highlights and see things here and there from those players. But yeah, that college space has really been taken over. And then I have a high schooler who's in our league actually, who's been pretty big time, Jiggy. Jiggy's been all over the place. She actually goes to Canyon High School, so I've actually kind of been following her journey a little bit, and she had a pretty good season this year.
Jiggy began jiggy with it. Huh?
Hey, that she does. She's worked with some of the best in the world, so I would expect nothing less.
I do got a question for y'all.
What's up?
So Don
Staley?
So
Don Staley?
yeah, two seasons undefeated. Do you think she'll make the jump to the WNBA?
At South Carolina? You talking about, yeah, because Dawn is a legend.
She's a legend.
She's a legend. I don't think that she will make that transition. I think Dawn is comfortable where she is, shaping these young women to go off to the next level, and that's where she's been very influential. One of my friends, I toured with her on the Harlem Globetrotters, Lakeisha Sutton, played for Dawn, and she just raved on how much of a great coach she was and how much of a mentor she was, and how influential she was helping getting her to the next level, whether it was overseas or, you know, professional, and, you know, ultimately led her to the Harlem Globetrotters where we played together. But
That's priceless.
Lakeisha Sutton is actually one of the toughest hoopers I've ever played with. You know what I mean? Like, her handle is tough. Like, and I really think that, like, Dawn is really doing a great job with the young women over at South Carolina, no doubt, for real.
No, that's a big honor for sure. I mean, me as a coach and as a trainer, one day, I strive to have that type of impact on players and you know, young men and women who definitely come through.
And so, I mean, one question I'll have, I mean, we talked a little bit on how much similar the games are, but are there any key differences from the men's and women's game that you feel like contribute to some of, like, the viewership or how people see it or the appeal of the game?
Man, I really think it's mainly critics and speculation. I think it's a lot of people who are uninformed or uneducated on, or have never even seen it for themselves, who say, why am I going to watch girls, or why am I watching girls play basketball? Because if you watch the game, I mean, if you enjoy the game of basketball, you are going to be excited. You are going to be, on the edge of your seat watching what's going on here. So I really feel like it's more of the words of the wind, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That make people not watch it, or that puts that viewership not in the best place.
No, I agree. I think that's starting to kind of even out.
Absolutely.
I mean, we talked a little bit, we noticed kind of the clear differences in, the NCAA men's and women's basketball, and how the women's basketball is now outshining the men in college sports. And I think that's a little bit to do with, we have so many professional sports leagues to where the best college or the best men's basketball players aren't playing in aren't playing in college. The best women's basketball players are playing in college right now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And like that's where I think the clear difference is right now in the college ranks. And then when we talk about the game specifically, I know one thing that sticks out to a lot of people is the lack of dunking. And a lot of people have something to say about that, but I've seen in recent years, a lot of these young women are actually coming up. They got bounced, they dunking. There's a young girl out of Canada. I can't quite remember her name right now, but I think she's a commit to Duke next year.
High schooler.
Yeah, she's a high schooler. Should be going to Duke next year. She can actually dunk the basketball really well, and she's actually a really good basketball player and not just a dunker. And I don't like the whole narrative too. If we lowered the rim, then women's basketball would be so much more exciting. No. Women athletes, female athletes are getting even more athletic as the days and the years progress, and they're just learning how to tap into that athletic potential even more. So dumbing their game down and watering their game down, that makes no sense to me. And all those people out there that think that that's the solution to women's sports, please go get educated and please get help, because that's not it. Everybody here is fighting for equality, and I think everybody on this earth is capable of doing the same things.
Absolutely. I don't think that was a part of the game, obviously, for women, back in the day. They weren't striving to be the highest jumpers or anything, unless you were a volleyball player. Yeah,
no kidding. And before we wrap up, I wanted to dive into some of the unforgettable viral moments, like we have that define the games and capture the world attention. You talked a little bit to me about kind of my role in this space, where I stand in this space, my ability to be able to play, and how I'm seen in this space. I'll let you get back into that. But also, I'll love to dive into all of the videos, all of the faces and figures and platforms that have now come up now to be able to host and showcase some of these viral moments like Ball is Life, Overtime, Bleacher Report, House of Highlights. Even the NBA is actually getting around to that. If y'all haven't done so, make sure y'all download the NBA app right now. We got a lot of good content on there. You might even see your boy Bionic on there. So shameless plug there. But make sure y'all check out all those platforms. What are some of the most viral moments or platforms that you've seen? I also want to give a big shout out to Next Chapter, what they're doing. They're changing the landscape of basketball as we know it. And also, if y'all haven't seen it, we got the Bionic Battleground Season 1 hoodie on. And we have Bionic Battleground Season 1 that will be making its first official debut this year. We've been working really hard, and I believe that we will also be changing the landscape of basketball content and how we consume it. Not only basketball content, but this content is going to be for anybody. You like TV, you like reality TV, you like influencers, you like public figures, you like athletes, you like people who like football, anything. We have something for everyone in this series. So make sure y'all stay tuned, check it out. Make sure y'all follow Bionic Battlegrounds on Instagram. Make sure y'all check us out on all platforms, because that will be the next greatest series to come out that hasn't been heard of yet.
The culture, man.
Yeah, we're trying to push the culture forward, man. But what do you think about like the internet culture and, you know, some viral moments or viral figures, or are there any basketball influencers or YouTubers or things that you tapped into right now, or anybody you like watching? Want to give a big shout out to my homies all over the world, you know, like White Iverson, Hezzy God, Chris Staples, you know, like it's so many. The 1 foot guy, I know he's been going crazy. Jordan Kilgannon. All those guys at the next chapter is too many to name, but want to give a big shout out to D. Friga. He's been a big pioneer for, you know, those people in those spaces as well. But yeah, what do you think?
Absolutely.
Frank Nitty. Gotta give a big shout out to my homie Frank. Can't forget about my guy Frank. He a pioneer in the influence lane and in the professional sports lane. Gotta give a big shout out to my homie, all the West Coast squad, Body Bag, Ty Glover, Monstar, Cesar Guerrero, you know, everybody. The list goes on. I'm sorry,
right.
you know what I mean? Like, I got a lot of homies in this space, and if I missed you, I'm Mac. I can keep going, but like, hey, if I didn't say your name, I will say your name in future episodes. I love you and appreciate you and everything that y'all have done for this space and being my friends.
Absolutely. And a lot of those guys you named, I would say have a heavy influence on me. I mean, I've been blessed and highly favored to be in a lot of different spaces with you and meeting a lot of dope content creators, basketball content creators specifically, you know, and developing relationships for a lifetime. You know, guys like Caleb.
Caleb Nash, Streamster.
Yeah, guys like Caleb, that's, you know, lifelong bonds there. The Randall twins, you know what I mean? Yeah. A lot of those guys started in this space, you know, before it was really popping, before it was really, you know, hyped up.
Brandon Armstrong,
exactly.
Famous Los, Max is nice.
Yep.
I just gotta keep saying the names as they come up. You know, I gotta give my guys their credits when it's due. I gotta give y'all flowers. Y'all deserve them.
For real. Especially, you know what I mean, when they were the first people in the, you know, in this space doing it.
For real. Before it was cool.
Absolutely.
Also, big shout out to my guy Maxwell Pierce. You know, he definitely changed the game of dunking as we see it.
Absolutely. T. Curry, gotta give a shout out
T. Curry. Yeah, it's another big guy. My guy Ant Hamilton, you know what I mean? He's done it in a different way, you know what I mean? Like, I really like what Hamilton has done. A lot of people saw him as just a dunker, but he's expanded.
Huge.
And, you know, as a basketball player, track and field athlete, actor, entrepreneur.
Yes,
Got to give a big shout out to my homie there. A young guy in the game, killing it.
So
Venice Ball, big shout out to Venice Ball for pushing the culture forward. My guy Nick Ansom, he's never given up, he's never stopped. So yeah, I definitely love what he's done with Venice Ball, the hoop bus, all that stuff.
It's been huge. It's definitely been huge. He was a big part of my, you know, basketball journey when I first got here, for sure, giving me that opportunity to play out there at Venice Beach. So yeah, pretty much everybody you name, man, and everybody in the space is doing it, and they're killing it, and they definitely, you know, continue to inspire me and motivate me to want to do more and give back more to that community and help the next generation, you know what I mean, get a lot of the culture that they're not getting anymore.
Yeah. No, facts. And, you know, I'm going to just lift off a couple more names. J-Dub, you know, can't forget about my ladies, Lolo Fitzmo, you know, Jenna Bandy, Brianna Green, goodness, like Chrissa, Ace, the list goes on. There's so many people to name, and if I didn't name you and you see this podcast and you want to make sure that you're featured and your name is called in this next one, make sure you connect with me. Let's do some content together. Let's work. Cause
it's good to know you're really connected with pretty much anybody in that space. You've touched, you've worked with them, you've done something with them.
Yeah, so I want to connect with more people and bring them to the forefront. Because, you know, that's what I'm about. I'm a master connector. I want to plug people, connect the dots. And that's what Bionic Battlegrounds is about, too. Bionic Battlegrounds is putting some people in the forefront of the space that maybe you might not have seen before or don't get a shine that they deserve. And I want to do that with the ladies, too. So be on the lookout, because in coming seasons, we will be including women in this series as well. But, you know, I mean, like, social media platforms has completely changed, you know, how we look at basketball, how we consume basketball on the internet. Things like Twitter or X, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. They played a significant role in the proliferation of viral moments in sports, including basketball. And memorable moments like buzzer beaters, poster dunks, half-court shots have become instant sensations, garnering millions of views and shares online. Like, that's crazy to me. Like, I've been a part of a lot of that too.
No,
Like,
for real.
it's wild. And then the accessibility of smartphones and high-speed internet has made it even easier for fans to capture and share these moments in real time, contributing to their viral nature.
Oh, yeah.
And personally, like, I know coming up, like, I had to look at broadband. I had to get the broadband
That
internet, type
Dial
it in.
up.
You know what I mean? I had to tie up the whole phone line for the whole house.
Yup.
My mama yelling up the stairs, "Hey, get off that net!"
Yup.
Like, cause we trying to get on the phone. So, you know what I mean? Like, it's completely different now in
Absolutely.
today's day and age. I am filming my first videos on a flip phone and posting them on MySpace.
With
You know what I
terrible
mean?
quality.
Oh, terrible quality. That's where my first video was posted. You know what I
part.
mean? And I had to work really hard to be able to get that uploaded, but that really started my journey. And now in today's day and age, kids have access to this at their fingertips. They're getting iPads at 5,
Yeah.
you know, and phones at 6, you know what I mean? And like, now they can watch trainers from anywhere.
No, seriously.
They can learn the game from anywhere. And basketball is still a global game. I feel like it's gotten wider and more people, you know, even watch the sport. I want to give a big shout out to some of my guys, you know, internationally, the Tricky from Serbia, one of the pioneers over there in Serbia doing this thing. So like, really, I've seen a lot of reach, you know, from the U.S. to international with the game of basketball, and I'm very proud of how far the game has come, but we still got a lot of work to do.
Yeah, it's huge. I think they're real hungry overseas, especially. I got a lot of coaches who get on me all the time. Hey, come over, you know, to Egypt, come over to Africa. They're dying to you know, get involved, to get some instruction, to really, you know, try and take this game somewhere.
Okay, what do you think makes a moment in sports go viral, and how many social media all right, hold on one second. What do you think makes a moment in sports go viral, and how have social media platforms influenced the spread of these viral moments?
I mean, a camera. A camera being available is what makes a moment go viral, and the shares. Back in the day, you had to wait for ESPN Top 10 to come on before you
Facts.
seen any highlights. So
Yes.
you're like, oh, I can't miss it. You know what I mean? And if you missed it, yeah, like you said, you had to go on the dial-up computer and try and pull this up while the video's constantly buffering and you're not really getting anything good. So, you know, nowadays with the accessibility of, you know, instantly, as soon as that play happens or that clip happens, it starts getting shared immediately. Everyone's sharing it, everyone's pushing it. So, you know, the right hashtag, the right person sharing it, the right person, you know, doing anything can pretty much make anything go viral with the way the internet works today.
And if you're out there, you're a person posting your stuff on social media, share it to more people. Send it to their DMs. Make sure they can get their eyes on it. But that's huge to like realize that back in the day for me, Slam Magazine was like the Bible.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You couldn't get basketball culture until you got the Slam
Yup,
Magazine. You know what I'm saying?
What's hot? Who wearing what?
What's going on?
Yup.
You know what I'm saying? And then, you know, now in recent years or early 2000, things like Baller's Life came up, Hoop Mixtape. You've seen a lot of mixtapes from guys.
Hoop Mixtape.
Yeah, you're getting a lot more connected instantly to what's going on. And that's where Baller's Life really took over. Baller's Life really had covered a lot of high school sports and basketball all over. So, you know,
I was a part of it without being there.
Yeah, and I was blessed, you know, to be able to make the connection with Baller's Life and be on the platform and, you know, push the culture forward and create their first form of original content.
Right.
You know, with my guys, you know, my guys on the West Coast squad, my guys on the East Coast squad, we really changed how we looked at internet basketball, honestly. And now we got people coming up making leagues to get guys paid to be playing on the internet.
Man. See? Creating jobs.
Can you recall any viral moments from recent years that you believe will have a lasting impact in the sport of basketball? That's the segue, you know what I mean? Like,
absolutely. And I mean the one that sticks out to me, I mean there's so many, trust me, but the one that sticks out to me is Dame Time. I mean it's Dame Time. There may be more iconic, but like at the moment, the most iconic thing I can think of is tapping that wrist and letting people know I am not here to play. I am clutch. I am going to end this.
and the thing that really sticks out to that one for me is the fact that afterwards, Paul George in his press conference, he goes, "It's a bad shot." And since then, Damian Lillard has showed
It's a normal shot.
that is my shot.
It's my shot.
I
right.
do this. You know what I mean? Like, that is real viral, though. Like, that's when I feel
seriously.
like everybody was like, yeah, Stephen Curry was doing it, but I think that woke up everyone to like, no, that's not a bad shot. If you can shoot it, but you have to work on it.
Yeah.
You know, you have to be prepared to be able to take a shot like that.
Absolutely. Consistently, with confidence.
Yeah. And do you think, or what's your favorite viral moment? I think you really asked it, but I'm going to ask the audience, what's your favorite viral moment in sports? It could be professional sports. It could be, here. It could be then. It could be later. It could be now, whenever. What's your favorite viral moment in sports, and how has that impacted your life? And do you think the prevalence of social media has changed the way athletes approach their performance, knowing that any moment can potentially go viral? And then, are there any non-basketball related viral moments that you believe have a significant influence on the sport or its culture? So, I mean, you can answer any of that, but I'm taking that to you guys as fans. Make sure y'all drop a comment. Let us know what you think about those questions below, because I would love to hear your insight and your advice on, how this stuff has impacted culture, sports, in your life.
Yeah, no, that last question, I'm going to need to know the answers to that. I want
Yeah.
to hear some of those answers.
No,
for
I
sure.
can't wait.
That's very interesting.
Yeah, we can unpack that on the next episode. And then, from humble beginnings to its global impact, basketball continues to evolve, driven by innovation, inclusivity, and the passion of its players and fans. Thanks for tuning in to Talk That Talk, or T3. I'm your host, Ty Bionic Brooks, with my co-host, Ty McKinney, where we explore changing the landscape of sports and culture. We'll see y'all next time. But before we go, I want to bring you an ad from our sponsors. One of the main players in culture since 2001, the incredible combination of Hypnotic and Cognac, was an unforgettable cocktail play. If you know, you know. A new shade of green is on the court. Every season is Hypnotic and tequila season. Hypnotic is in the cup, blue and ready for the play, and boom, on your tequila with a smooth assist. Hypnotic and tequila make an amazing team. It's green and good. The playmaking splash, and here's the land. Click the link in the bio to enter the Hypnotic Sweepstakes here. It's going to be going on from February 1st to May 15th. There will be one prize consisting of one $3,000 gift card issued by U.S. mobile ticket platform of sponsors of choice, and two 1,950 non-reloadable prepaid gift card issued by a leading American multinational financial services corporation of sponsors' choice. At 21 and plus, be sure to click the link in my bio for a chance to win Hypno Hoop Sweepstakes going on from February 1st to May 15th. You don't want to miss out on your chance to catch this year's finals.